Hi, everyone. I am Cassandra Milianchik, and I am the project lead for Studio Half, and I'm going to present to you what we have for Vertical Slice. So our game's working title is Capstone, and I'll give you a little recap of what it is real quick. So Capstone is a 3D platformer that takes place on a tropical island with a tone that is whimsical, humorous, and playful. Our theme is breaking the mold, and you get to play as Peblito, who is a little rock character who needs to collect fruit to heal his island's volcano. And to do so, he gets to explore forgotten paths and forge some new ones. For February, we had a monthly motto of Crush It, which stands for create radical, unimaginably stunning, and high quality, inspiring things. We were saying it all the time, so our goal here is to crush it at Vertical Slice. So we would like Capstone to be a portfolio piece, and for Vertical Slice, we wanted a really high quality visual target with an emphasis on production value. So we decided to use spiral development to create one complete, absolutely breathtaking scene, one complete character with animations, and polish running and jumping so that they're feeling absolutely perfect. A summary of the things that we worked on this month. For the art team, they worked on Peblito and getting him rigged and animated, as well as some custom environment assets. The design team was working on level design and blueprints, as well as prototyping a few mini mechanics and polishing those mechanics. The programming team was working on some of our larger mechanics within the game and also began bug tracking and working on some tools for QA and metrics. Starting off with Peblito, we completed texturing him for both his bipedal and ball form. And we actually created a smart material for adding stylized edges, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. If you look at the edge to the left of his eye, you can see it toggling on and off. So the edge will look super sharp and almost manufactured, and then get a little bit softer with a highlight and have more of the stylized feel that we're going for. In terms of Peblito's rig, this was a very big step in getting him complete with animations. And on his rig, you can move his eyes, the area around his eyes, his arms, his feet, and we also do have a transition from biped to ball. For animations, we created 4 of them. We have a run animation, a jump animation, an idle, and a twitch animation. And this was the final step in completing Peblito for Vertical Slice. In terms of custom assets, we started working on some shrines, which will serve as areas of interest and save points for our players. You can see the progression on the right-hand side, and then the illustration in the center of the screen is actually a concept for a respawn point that we would like to develop in the future. We also created some large
Can you guys
hero
hear Cassandra?
assets. Can you guys not hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. But yeah, so these statues are one of the large hero assets that are included within our level. And these will serve to offer some reference for our players for scale, as our level is very large. These houses are a continuation of what we were working on last time. So we did end up completing these little rock homes, which will be abandoned in our level and also serve as scale reference for the player throughout the level. The largest asset in our vertical slice scene is this volcano tree, which serves as the focal point and goal for our player. The whole goal for our player is to travel around this cavern through a cave and to get to this tree and eventually get the fruit that you see hanging from it. We also continued working on asset packs to retopo and UV them so that they fit our style a bit more and it's easier to add our own textures to them. Our artists were very busy creating materials and effects, and I will take you through a quick tour of them right now. Starting with the rock picture in the upper left-hand corner, that is some projection mapping work that we did so that our rock assets will blend together. And then next to it, we have a sand substance, a tropical ground cover material, some fire, some lava bubbles, a lava splash effect, heat distortion, and some blue orbs that we included in our tree. We also had our artists create a vine and leaf generator, and these are all completely customizable, so you can change the size, shape, the number of polys on the vine, as well as the number of leaves, how far they are away from each other, the size of those leaves, and even the angle at which they're pointing. So we intend to use both of these in our vine whip mechanic. We also had one of our artists create another custom track for us, and I will show that to you right now. So this music is intended for use in another level. We did end up using the track that we created last month in our vertical slice level. We also had our teammates working on incorporating sound effects into the game, and these are the ones that are included in the level today. So in terms of environment, we had a lot of iteration on the cave structure and where we should put the tree. We ended up scaling down the size of our cave a lot from beginning to final product, but we made sure to try to find that balance between awe-inspiring scale and making sure that our visual target was achievable. We also iterated a lot on lighting, which you can see through these progression shots. And we actually ended up hosting extreme lighting work sessions, as well as a whole team slice for vertical slice work night, which helped to improve communication between our team members and actually made the whole process of lighting our scene a bit more efficient. It took a little bit to figure this out, but in the end, I think we crushed it with our final product. So for the gameplay path within our level, we wanted to highlight basic movement. So in our case, that includes running, jumping, and our dash mechanic. In our level, players travel down the side of the cavern on their way to the tree. And in this scene, we elected to include crystals to help guide our player along that path. So here I will actually have Bert post a link to our mechanics video in the chat. Our game places a very heavy emphasis on smooth and clean movement, so we didn't want Zoom to tarnish that. This video should take about 4 minutes, and I will see you guys back here in 4 to 5 minutes then. Hello from YouTube, everyone. So to keep things rolling, here we have an animatic of an early concept of our vine whip. We've actually changed it, so now instead of Peblito swinging from vines more like Tarzan, it's now a vine that he whips like Indiana Jones onto a rafter or a grapple point and then swings across the gap. Here we have an example of some of the iteration we've been doing with our vine whip. On the left-hand side, we have an earlier version of it where Peblito tends to snap right into the swing and it's very stiff. And on the right, we've been working really hard to make it as smooth as possible so that Peblito doesn't feel like snappy and that he flows right into that swing. Here we have a few animatics on how we would like to implement jumping in our game. So here we have some moving platforms within lava, Peblito using some mushrooms as little jump pads, and some sinking platforms that Peblito is using to cross a pool of lava. Dash you all have seen before in our last status update. Since then, we've been working on improving it and balancing it within our game. So just a quick recap, dash is a quick burst of movement that when used on the ground, you travel a short distance very quickly, and then when combined with jump so that you are in the air, you travel a farther distance also very quickly. Here we have a few animatics of how we initially thought we would want to use rolling. We have changed it so that Peblito will no longer be rolling along the walls, but these are still really cool and I wanted to share them with you guys. So this is our rolling, and it has come a long way from where it initially started, and I'm super proud of my team for this. Um, but so just a little recap on our rolling. We initially thought about having Peblito roll as a coin, but as we started to think more about our design, we changed it to spherical rolling. And here we are not actually using physics. We did this to give the player more control in where they're going and their actions in the game. So this is a completely custom movement mode where we are actually rotating the mesh according with player movement. Since last time, we have lowered the friction so that it gives a little bit of slipperiness to the roll, and that way it feels more like actual rolling instead of the rolling that we are creating here. We've also been working a lot on balancing. So here you can see some of the balancing maps that we made to try to figure out if our jumps were right, if our dash is feeling good, and also where exactly these platforms should be. We worked really hard to get the perfect combination so that running and jumping felt absolutely amazing in our game. And that way we can build a solid base for the rest of our game and the rest of our mechanics to build upon. Here with our environmental challenges, we have some moving platforms ahead of us that Peblito will have to travel across. And up ahead, there are actually some falling obstacles that he will have to dodge while he uses the vine whip to cross this gap. Up ahead, we do have a lava fall, which Peblito will have to dash through to get through the gap. And here we have a few lava balls that he will also have to dodge. Below here, we have a jump pad that he can use, and then this gust of wind that bursts him off to the side. All of these mechanics are things that our programmers and tech designers have been working on this past month and would like to continue to polish in the months moving forward. Here we can see some of the iterating that we've been doing with cinematics. On the left-hand side is one of our first explorations into it, and as we were building and constructing our level, the design of the level actually influenced what we wanted to do with the cinematic. So as you can see on the right-hand side with our final cinematic, we decided to pull right back from the tree as opposed to spinning around it and then taking a tour around the level. So to keep things rolling, in terms of bug tracking, we set up all of our bug tracking infrastructure in Jira and have already pushed a couple of proxy bugs through that pipeline, all the way from creating a bug report to setting that final resolution as done or KS'd. In terms of the form for bug tracking, we had one of our programmers create a script which will pull all of the background information of your computer, including OS system, background apps that are running, and it dumps them all in a document, which you can see right here. So this makes it really easy for our reporters to collect that information and then just attach it to the bug report form. So all of our information is accurate as opposed to sometimes if we asked our bug reporters to self-report this information, they could forget something, mistype something, or give us information that might not be 100% accurate. So by having this information, it'll help us eliminate or identify the causes of bugs once we get around to bug squashing in the future. Along the lines of QA and metrics, we are currently using the Game Analytics plugin for UE4. And from here, we export the data that we've gathered, and we had one of our programmers make a tool that helps us visualize it in Engine. So this particular information tracks events, which are represented by the orbs that you can see in the video playing. Here we have the green orbs that represent jumps, the red that represent dash, or sorry, the orange that represent dash, and the red represent player death. We can actually filter these events by event or by player, and we are looking into tracking players over time with this tool, so that if we have someone who participates in multiple focus group tests, we can compare their progression to that of players who may have only just touched the level for the first time. So this will help us, also identify any particularly challenging areas in our game, see how players will approach different environmental challenges, and we can use that data to help guide our level construction and make data-driven changes. Also, along the lines of QA and metrics, we had another one of our programmers create a frame rate counter and alarm that works in the built game, not just in the editor. we would like to use this in playtesting to alert the tester of any drops in performance. So the video on the left side of the screen will show you the yellow alert, which is what it indicates when frame rate drops below 60 FPS. And then on the right, it will flash red and play this wonderful alarm that you will hear right now. In person, it is much louder. I had to lower the volume on this video, but this will help us to um, know exactly when there are any performance issues within our game, and we are looking into creating automatic logging of both of these events. After the feedback of the last status update, we decided to do some buoyancy benchmarking, and so we dropped about 500 buoyant cubes in the level and only saw a frame rate drop of 10 to 20 frames. We will not be using this many cubes in our level, so we won't have to worry about that at all. But we did notice that we wanted to try to use rising and falling water levels within our game. So with the water simulation, we encountered a few issues. On the left-hand side of the screen, when the water sim is not anchored, it actually doesn't work with the buoyant objects. And then on the right side, when the water sim is anchored, the water physically rises, but not visibly. So we won't be able to use rising and falling water levels with buoyant objects in our game. We also did a few other tests with destructible meshes that are buoyant, and they can be made buoyant, but when they shatter, it absolutely tanks frame rate, so we will not be using destructible buoyant platforms within our game. We also worked on a bit of file organization. So in our team's account, we made a wiki, which is affectionately referred to as the Ricky, and this helps with ease of access since we do have so many images, clips, and other documents floating around within our team. We also did a risk analysis, and we identified our top 3 risks. So these were vine whip visuals, where with our vine whip, we are encountering a few issues with making the whip of the vine look um, physically accurate. Right now, it's just kind of a rope that shoots straight to the anchor point rather than something that has a nice flow to it. So currently we have our programmers and artists collaborating on this. And if we cannot succeed in finding a technical way to solve this problem, we will rebrand our vine whip as a grappling hook so the shooting rope is more conceptually consistent. We also identified some art line dependencies as a potential risk to our team. We have a very multi-talented art team, and a few people are integral to almost every pipeline within the art team. So we want to make sure that we don't overwork these individuals, and we're doing this by attempting to ensure that our estimates are accurate, scheduling a little bit of wiggle room in the scope in the event that we end up overscoping or have any accidents that we need to take care of. And we're also going to closely monitor their hours so that they're not overworked and don't get burnout. Another issue that we recognized is texture scaling. So because our level is so large, there are a lot of textures in there, and we ran into texture spooling. So we had too many textures in the level. We are currently researching some technical solutions so that we don't have to rebuild the level, but our fallback plan, if we cannot find a technical solution, is to build a separate level for when Peblito arrives at the base of the tree, and then only give the base of the tree a very high-res texture and fade it as we go up. For our February review, these are all of the assets that we initially sent out or set out to create. And the ones highlighted in brown are things that we either had to cut or didn't deliver up to our expectations. And the green ones are ones that we absolutely crushed and blew out of the park. So in terms of crushing it, I would like to think that we crushed it with our additional effects. We made so many more than we set out to make. Same thing with our mini mechanics and our sandboxes. And we also totally crushed it with rolling and our metrics tools. On the flip side, we did have to cut the scale of our initial scene, and we ended up cutting a beach level for our sandbox. In terms of our usage over the past few weeks, our weekly hours should have been around 200 hours, and we have seen a natural increase on the road to vertical slice as we are trying to make sure that everything's ready and perfect for today. We did have a few spikes in activity right around week 3, which is when the start of our level construction began, and we had a lot of rework to do concerning geography. And then the other spike is also at week 6, where, trying to crunch and get everything ready and absolutely perfect to go, finishing the level and our final assets. Um, for our production roadmap, I did a lot of calculations to try to make sure that our capacity is correct. And our production will run from March 1st to June 28th. Alpha will run from June 29th to August 2nd. And all of our estimations are for an 80% capacity, accounting for the hours that leads spend managing their teams and 2 hours allocated per team member for meetings each week. So, with this in mind, we have 291 level design hours, and with that, we can create 2 additional levels and 1 tutorial level. So, these levels will include the tutorial, the cave on the way to the tree, and the interior of the tree. We also have 286 mechanics hours, and these estimates are broken down based on the type of the mechanic, whether they are super complex like our rolling or more of a mini mechanic like our jump pads. And so with those estimates, we can complete our rolling and vine whip and create a total of 10 mini mechanics. So 4 more into the or in addition to the 6 that we've already started. For art assets, we have 313 environment art assets or hours, sorry. And this breakdown is broken down by the type of prop. So whether that's a hero prop like our statues or a more simple prop. So we can create an additional 27 to 30 props. 27 if we do 2 hero and 25 simple, or 30 if we don't do any more heroes and just do 30 simple. For animations, we have 121 animation hours, and those estimates are also broken down by complexity, and we can create an additional 13 animations. We have 70 character art hours, and this is just enough to make 1 more character for our game. So this is an overall breakdown of our milestones for production. And so for March, we would like to work on our new character and animations, polish rolling and continue developing metrics tools, begin our 2 new levels, and have our first focus group test, which is actually on March 3rd. So hit us up if you would like to attend. For April, our milestones are creating more special effects, completing the character, polishing the mini mechanics, working on vine swing, set dressing, and doing a first pass at both of our levels, and hosting another focus group test. For May, our milestones are adjusting final assets and polishing, bug squashing and polishing some mechanics, completing 2 levels, beginning the tutorial sequence, and another focus group test. In June, it's 100% polish for the art team, bug squashing and polishing for the programming team, polishing and completing the tutorial sequence for the design team, and also hosting another focus group test. And then in July will be an alpha. These are our specific goals for March. So to break that down a little bit by team, the art team would like to make some more animations, some more environment assets for our new levels, refine the lighting of our existing prop or existing levels, and also work on some existing props. We would like to create some more effects, concept our new character, and take a stab at solving our texture scaling risk. The design team would or is hosting their first playtest. They would like to make some action blocks for new levels, white box them, and polish some mini mechanics. The programming team is going to continue working on the metrics tool, polishing rolling, polishing the vine whip visuals, and they do have a stretch goal of a couple new prototypes for a baseball slide and superheated areas. So as the last part of my presentation, Bert's going to send the link for a little playthrough of our level, and that should take right around 2 minutes.